Good morning and welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lowdown Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, we'll talk about a game against the Mavericks that didn't feature LeBron James, didn't feature Luka Doncic, and didn't feature Austin Reaves. It did, however, feature a 37-8 quarter. So that happened. Early on in the game, it was the Gabe Vincent show. The combination of sentences that I just said, not all that exciting, but Gabe Vincent went off. He scored like 18 points in the first few minutes of the game, felt like, finished with 22 points overall. Obviously cooled significantly. He finished 6 of 15 from the floor and 6 of 11 from 3-point range. And was fun while he really had it going. But I thought, kept on firing up those heat checks and took himself out of a rhythm. Elsewhere on the team, you had Rui Hachimura put in 19 points on 9 of 18 from the field. You had Jackson Hayes get a double-double with 12 points and 10 rebounds. You had RJ Davis reach double digits in 27 minutes. And outside of that, like the performances weren't all that impressive, as you would kind of expect. It's a team that is very reliant on offensive creativity and production at the top of the roster. And when the entire top of that roster doesn't play, this is what it kind of looks like. Speaking of the top of the roster not playing, look, this was the second night of a back-to-back for some reason in the preseason, which, again, I just don't. The Lakers control their own schedule here in the preseason, and they chose to have a back-to-back in the preseason, which means you just, like, that is one game where basically nobody important is going to play. That going in, and yet that was part of the plan. And the Lakers obviously also play 6 preseason games. That is more than just about everybody else in the league. And yeah, I just think they needed to be they will need to be a lot smarter about the way that they schedule out the preseason from here on out. But in this one, you had, the night before, you had Luka and Austin play. LeBron's still out, obviously. The reports from Shams is that he is going to take his time and return sometime in mid-November, is I guess what the Lakers are thinking or hoping. But with Luka and Austin out playing the night before, the Lakers did not have them available last night, and they are hoping to have a full dress rehearsal in tomorrow's game, which will be the final one of the preseason. So we'll see what that kind of looks like. This was Dallas's dress rehearsal. Everybody was available for them. And to the Lakers' credit, they competed for most of the game. If you look at the quarters, the Lakers outscored Dallas 36-32 in the first. They outscored Dallas 30-21 in the second. Then the second half happened. Dallas outscored the Lakers 31-20 in the third, and eliminated the lead pretty much. And then in the fourth quarter, just absolutely stomped them 37-8. In a bit, I want to talk a little bit about why that happened outside of the top of the roster not playing in this one, but also I think because of the Lakers' approach to the bottom of the roster. But yeah, as far as this one goes, and by the way, like the Mavericks, they are handling their preseason how most teams handle their preseason, where the second to last game of the season tends to be that dress rehearsal. And then if you just want to get a couple of reps or get some shots up in the final preseason game, that'll be their call. But for the most part, the final preseason game is just kind of taking it easy and getting ready for the regular season that is soon to follow. The Lakers, because of their weird and wonky approach to this preseason, their dress rehearsal is actually going to be the final game of preseason, which it's just not how teams normally do it. So yeah, this is the most anybody has ever spoken about scheduling in the preseason, but here we are. what I did want to spend a few minutes on here at the tail end of the show is about the way that the Lakers roster is set up and their approach to the end of their roster. So you look at their I have this up on basketball reference right now, and I have everybody listed by experience, right? With the thinking being that the guys with more experience will be, more solidified, um, as far as NBA players and rotation players. Here's another way I could do it too. I'll go to ESPN and rank everybody by salary, right? And by in doing that, that will kind of help tell another version of the story here. So up at the top of the roster, and guys 1 through 11, they're your rotation guys, right? You have Luka, LeBron, Rui, Austin, Vando, Vincent. Kleba is obviously debatable as far as like how much a part of the rotation he's going to be. Then you have Aiton, Laravia, Smart, Connect, and Hayes. So as that is kind of that is 11 guys, I believe, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys. Oh yeah, because Cleve is included in that group. So you have 12 guys basically, who, if they get into an NBA game, are gonna look like they belong, I would say, is the very least you could say about all of those players out, maybe not including Dalton in that group. Um, from there, though, you look at like the rest of the guys on this roster. You have Bronny, who has looked pretty bad, honestly, this preseason. You have Adu Diro, who might not play at all this season. Like it's worth considering that as a possibility. And then that's the 14 guys on the main roster. Then you have your two-way guys like Christian Coloco, Nick Smith Jr., Chris Magnon, who hasn't played at all because of a ankle sprain. I actually think that Nate Williams will wind up taking his spot. Speculation on my part there, and kind of hope. I don't think the Lakers need another 6'5" like shooting guard type. I would prefer that they go with well, I guess Williams is also a 6'5". Well, he's more of a wing though than Magnon. But anyway, the reason I say all of this is because most teams now, given how long the season is, and given the like how small the margins are in seating and stuff like that, most teams now are actually filling out the bottom of their roster with guys who, if they get into a game, uh, they will look like they belong. And in years past, you would have guys at the end of the roster who were kind of these long-term or longer-term projects. The Lakers, and then obviously you would have, a mix in between there for the rest of the NBA. Um, the Lakers, though, for the last few years, the bottom of their rosters for, I would say the last like 2-3 years running has been a bit of a disaster. And you look at that quarter that the Mavericks played against the Lakers there, where they outscored them. Let me see what the score was. It was 37-8 or something like that. In that final frame. And that's kind of what it looks like. Dallas, the one thing you can say about them is that they are a very, very, very deep team. And I think that will provide them a higher floor. Now, I have real concerns about their offense. If you head into the season and D'Angelo Russell is your only capable creator, um, say what you will about Cooper Flagg. I know that they envision him playing point guard. But if you head into a season with D'Angelo Russell as your only creator, you're really lowering your ceiling. But when you go into a season and you're as deep as the Mavericks are, where they run like 1 through 14 almost with like legitimate NBA players, to the point here where I think it would suit Dallas especially to call up the Lakers and see if they can make some kind of a consolidation trade for LeBron. But that's a different story altogether. But with the Lakers, they keep on lining the bottom of their roster with these projects, these longer term projects. And a lot of those projects really haven't panned out, right? Maxwell Lewis is basically out of the league. Jalen Hood-Schifino basically out of the league. We'll see what happens with Thero this year, but I have real doubts as to whether or not he's actually going to play this season. You have Bronny James, who was this project in year 2, who's probably a couple of years away from being a couple of years away. So, like, when you have your end of your roster designed that way or executed that way, it really puts an onus on the guys 1 through 12 or so to stay healthy, because any of those minutes that the guys 12 through 14 get onto the court, they're not going to go well. We just know that. So you look at the Clippers, they are extremely deep in this in the way that Dallas is. You look at Golden State, I think you could probably say some of the same thing. And also, like, the problem also with being so young is it makes it really difficult to have a culture down at the bottom of the roster in that same way, because culture is usually set by veterans, and you just kind of hope that the younger players, the rookies and the projects, catch on to what the veterans are doing. And when your roster is so young at the bottom of that group, then you really kind of run into the problems that you saw last night, where it was just an outright disaster. When you had, two-way guys or two-way hopefuls or G leaguers or projects going up against actual NBA players from Dallas, and it was kind of rough. So, yeah, one of the things that I would like to see the Lakers do, maybe not this year, but certainly moving forward, is focus more on, while they are a championship hopeful, because you're going to be, because you have Luka Doncic on your team, while you're that kind of championship hopeful, ditch the projects and just have professionals down there at the bottom of the roster. The other benefit too is when you're 10 through 15 guys or 9 through 14 guys are bona fide pros, that makes practices that much more competitive. When you have guys who are just projects and you have those guys basically making up the scout team that your rotation plays against, well, in practices and in scrimmages and stuff, um, of course the rotation is going to stomp them because those guys are barely pros. So, yeah, I would like to see the Lakers, scrap these longer term projects. Stop using second round picks on these athletic guys who don't know how to play basketball, and try to go out and use those second round picks in trades to go out and bring in veterans who, if there are injuries or if it's garbage time or in practices, can actually push your rotation guys up at the top. All right, that's going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lowdown podcast. Obviously, the schedule's a little wonky today. I watched that game last night. Didn't have anything that I wanted to say about it in the moment. What I will be doing in a little bit, maybe in a few hours or so when Jen gets home, I'm going to record a mailbag, this week's mailbag, right? We had a game Sunday, which meant no mailbag that day. Harrison was on Monday, which obviously meant no mailbag that day. Games Tuesday and Wednesday, which means no mailbag on those days. So we'll record our mailbag today, meaning Thursday, and then tomorrow we will be right back here in the lounge to record this week's Hook episode with Pete and myself. So we still got plenty of stuff to get to here through the rest of preseason and entering the final weekend of training camp, and then Tuesday is the big night, opening night. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day and make somebody else's, and I will talk to you in a little bit. Have a good one, everybody. Wrong button. Awesome.
Bye, everyone.